All right, welcome back to Better Odds Sports Betting. I'm your host, Kiev O'Neill, and we have a returning guest, a fantastic handicapper. Works on both sides of the counter. You know him from MyBookie.com and his great plays and insights over at Doc Sports. I'm really happy to bring back Mr. Raphael Exparza to Better Odds Sports Betting. You can follow him on Twitter at VSI Doc Sports. Ralph, man, you're the prop master. I love getting your emails every single week and the crazy props that you send out, and I'm excited to hear a little bit more about that. How did the holidays treat you?
Good. It's was a little under the weather, but now both PR teams are firing prop bets left and right. So again, keep on opening up those emails, and I try. I got some good ones coming up. I don't like to tell people what I'm actually working at because I actually enjoy when people respond back to me. It's like, "Holy cow, where'd this one come from?" And stuff like that. So I had some nice ones, but holiday's been fun. What's better than a Friday afternoon or Friday morning, wherever you're watching, where you get to watch a little basketball and talk football? You got the New Orleans Pivoteers going on this early afternoon kickoff, tip-off. So it's a great day. You can't complain.
Can't complain, buddy. It's cold, but that's okay. It's not as cold as the northern part of the United States where we're at. Lots of changes coming here in the NFL. This is the craziest week of betting in the NFL. Well, of guessing. Let's just say the guessing game is nuts. And then we have a college football national championship coming on too. So I'm really excited for this weekend. And you know what? College basketball's here. That's always kind of a nice little red carpet for me. When college football ends, I get the college basketball, one of my favorite sports. Probably I suppose if college football is my favorite sport, college basketball is my second. But come March Madness, I always say the opposite.
See, that's funny because mine's totally opposite than yours. Mine's college basketball first, college football second. I would have to say NFL is probably way below my list. It's for me. I'm a total believer of National Fun League, No Fun League, and stuff like that. But I love me college hoops, and I love me some college football as well.
Absolutely. Well, for any of you viewers out there want to comment, you can check us out at the Odds Breakers YouTube. That's where the comments come through. They don't normally come through anymore on Twitter like they used to. So as far as I know, so please check that out if you have some time. Raph, man, we had this big game on Monday. Props are starting to roll in slowly. I'm starting to see the player props, the usual way of that's done. But I have to ask you, are there going to be any national championship specialty props that you're whipping up for us?
I might do some head-to-head matchups with maybe NBA and some cross sports matchups with NBA. I think Utah's playing that day. I think the Nets are also playing on Monday, so I can maybe throw in some Kevin Durant prop bet. So I'm working on that after I do some of my PR nonsense props that they sent me today. I'm going to dive into some extra stuff for maybe some college hoop, but I'm going to really dive into some cross sports because I need to start pumping up for Super Bowl prop bets and those cross sports stuff like that. So I think that's what I'm going to do.
I think it's a good way to get a little bit of your feet in the water, right?
Yes.
Little cross sport props here. So not too often where you find national anthem props or anything with the college football national championship, but
maybe I'll do a Katy Perry wardrobe malfunction prop bet because she's performing at halftime. Maybe I'll do something like that.
You know that's going to malfunction for sure, right?
If they want ratings, I mean.
If they want ratings, there you go. Well, if this score is close, then it might not matter. But if they need ratings, they might have to, give Katie a little elbow here and make her do her thing. But we'll see what happens with that. But man, I'm going to get into a little bit of the national championship here, if that's cool, and see what your thoughts are. I mean, these two schools who, big shocker, right? Georgia's playing Alabama, number 1 and number 2 on most power ratings out there. The playoffs were boring. They were actually terrible. I shut it off at halftime. The Georgia won. I went and celebrated New Year's Eve with my wife and friends. And then, it didn't tell you a lot either. And the way I look at this game is if you metrically handicap it, and I went through this on the podcast, I went through this in other people's shows, is that Georgia is a favorite. I mean, metrically, if you look at their yards per point on defense is extraordinary at 27 yards per point opponents. It's amazing. And you look at strength schedule, it's not that far off. I guess I would give the edge to Alabama here a little bit on strength of schedule. But then you have the Nick Saban factor, the scheming factor comes with Nick Saban, obviously with the coordinator, and then you have the Bryce Young factor. And I think that's why this spread goes from 6 or 7 all the way down to -2 or -3. And that's in a nutshell, without getting too deep into like matchups and things like that. That's what I look at. But Mechie's out of this game. He was such a huge performer for Alabama. The only thing I can think of is maybe Georgia can lock down the other 2 receivers in Slade Bolden and Ja'Cory Brooks. That's what I'm thinking. But, they're going to be running trips to the left. There's going to be a lot of stuff coming out of the slot. I think it's all about Bryce Young here. And I wonder if Georgia makes the same mistakes that they did last time, because what I did notice about Georgia, Raph, they haven't faced that great of defenses except for Clemson. Clemson was that first one. And then their schedule is just a roll of defenses for the most part, And then, of course, Michigan, you can't really say that the defense is great, but Georgia was ready that game. Alabama's got a really good defense, and they were going to stop the run. So do you think this spread is correct around the 2.5 to 3?
I do. If you kind of think about it, I think the reason why they made Georgia a low favorite came out about 1.5, depending on where you shopped around. I think the people who made those numbers quickly knew that they were going to get Georgia money right away. They knew Georgia was going to be the favorite. It didn't matter if Georgia won 100-0 against Michigan and Cincinnati lost by a field goal, and that's why Bama's in here. We all know Georgia was going to be the small favorite right here. So let's get that Georgia money early, move it all the way up to 2.5 or 3. I didn't think we'll ever see 3.5 or 4. I thought that would just be – and just concentrate on – let's face it, if you're going to bet Alabama, are you really going to take the +3? No, you're going to get more probably Alabama money line bets than you probably will get +3. So let's get that Georgia money right now to kind of counteract that Alabama money line bet that we're probably going to get mostly just because if you're going to bet Alabama, I want to bet Alabama to win, not Alabama to cover or lose by 42 or 24-22, and I still won, but they lost. I think that's why that number is where it is. That's why I think that number is going to stay 3, 2.5. There's no way we see 3.5 and 4. If we do, then I'll be doing backflips because I'll be all roll tide if I get 3.5 or 4. But the number will stay. It does not shock me at all, and I can guarantee you the books will be getting hammered with Bama money line all weekend long and Monday because again, Bama fans don't want to take the +3. Really, we want to smoke our cigars on fourth quarter and get ready to cash that money line ticket.
That's true. You're going to probably at least have half your bet on it if you're just a public better betting the Alabama. If you get an even 3, you might be somebody betting it for value, but for the gist of it, the most people betting this game is going to be taking the money line here. But I don't disagree with that either because there's a lot of variance in this game. Chris Felic had a great stat he just threw out yesterday. I think out of the last, I think there's something like 18 championship games of a spread of 7 or less, 17 of them blew away past 7 points. Like it wasn't even close. So a lot of times that there's actually kind of a blowout in these games. And you remember the Oklahoma games here. You remember the Clemson games. I think that could have something to do with it. So maybe even like if you can take Alabama on the money line or take a staggered line with Georgia. -7 is about +160 if you want to get an outline. So, you can get totally cute with that, But what I will say is that MyBookie is a little bit different than some of the other places because I still see -2, -115 at MyBookie for Georgia. And I tell you this, I searched a lot of books and no one's that low. So I'm wondering if that MyBookie is just preparing an onslaught of Alabama or what. But it's interesting to see you guys a little different.
Yeah, and I can't spill the beans on most of it, but I understand why we're doing that right now. I mean, we all know Mattress Matt over at Caesar / William Hill / whatever they used to be called. He has Bama. I think he has Bama money line, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong if he has plus the points or money line, but he has Bama. So, and there's a couple other big names six-figure bets or more that I've heard out in Sin City to have Bama as well. So normally when Joe Public, especially in Vegas and stuff like that, know that some guys have that, they're going to piggyback on that. So again, my gut tells me Georgia gets their revenge redemption. My heart is telling me, why would you bet against Nick Saban like you did a couple weeks ago or a couple months ago when you thought Georgia was going to beat Alabama? But what Nick Saban do to you? He made you eat rat poison and gave you the double bird as he blew up Georgia. I'm hoping we see a lot of points. I think we're going to see an over game. I know both teams have good defenses. One team will probably stop the run. Is Georgia going to be able to stop the long ball with Young as QB? For some reason, I think this game goes over, but I could be wrong, and we see an LSU-Alabama game 9-6 final.
Yeah, well, there you go. That would be really boring. We'll see. I mean, this total's at 52, and my numbers say 51, but I'll tell you this, I'm not betting the under. I mean, this is just one of those where desperation time. I think there's going to be a lot of throwing in the ball. And for you listeners out there, I know Raphael can talk about why MyBookie does things, but the assumption that I would make is they are pretty heavily invested on the Alabama side. So sometimes
I can't confirm or deny.
Sometimes when that happens, you'll see books a little bit different, but we'll see what happens when more money comes in. I'm going to give out a prop though, buddy. And this one I kind of like because this guy's been a bigger part of the Georgia offense as of late. And that is Mr. James Cook. If anyone knows, he's Dalvin Cook's brother, and he's just been, pretty much killing it lately on not only being a running back, he's been a great receiver for Georgia. As a matter of fact, he's kind of, up and coming here. But the way I look at it is Alabama's secondary is great. They're going to be locking down a lot of Georgia's receivers like Burton and, the tight end, even maybe Bowers and Mitchell and a couple other guys. But I think that he's going to have to dump it off to Cook a bunch of times. Stetson Bennett's going to do that nice little dump off, which has actually kind of worked. If you look at Georgia's receiving in the Michigan game, it was James Cook that led the receiving yards, 112 on 4 receptions. Trust me, they're going to look at that and say, hey, this can happen again. Now, there was one very deep one. I watched the game. You don't make an impulse play on something like that. But then you look back to the SEC championship game, James Cook had a decent amount of, let me pull it up here. Sorry, I pulled the wrong one. Yeah, he actually had 4 receptions for 28 yards. If you look at what some of these books are dealing right now, it's 20.5 yards, 20.5 receiving yards. Now think of it like this too. They're not throwing at James Cook when they're beating the shit out of these SEC opponents. They're not. The second half, they're running the ball. And they're running the ball to, Zamir White and, some of the other guys. I don't know who's going to have more rushing yards between James Cook and Zamir White. But this is supposed to be a close game, which means you're going to get more passing of the ball and you're going to get James Cook more involved. I actually think both teams try to stop each other's run and get to the quarterback a little bit and do what they do best to, make the quarterback beat you. And, obviously, that's what happened. Bryce Young beat Georgia last time. But in this situation, I think this is way too low for a James Cook that got 4 receptions last SEC championship and got 4 receptions against Michigan. I even like his receptions total. It's not out yet, but I'll take 20.5 over, Ralph. Any thoughts?
I agree on that one totally. It's almost like when you watched New Orleans Saints play. That the running back's probably going to get more screen passes and short passes because the quarterback can't throw the ball down low because their offensive line is horrendously bad. So I agree on this one. I think Cook. I really thought before probably props. I thought it was going to be like closer to like maybe 28.5, 29.5, closer to that 30 mark. Then when I saw 20.5, I'm like, whoa! I agree. You nailed it. Both teams are going to try to stop the run early. Alabama watched Georgia run the ball against Michigan. Georgia watched Alabama run wild on Cincinnati's defense. So I believe both teams are going to want to stop the run early. That's why I'm leaning towards the over if I had to bet this game, the total. But I couldn't agree more on Cook over 20.5. I would not be shocked if this one closes around, they move it to 22.5 or even higher before kickoff. I agree. Jump on this one now.
Thank you. Great. Awesome. We have agreement on this one. That was one that definitely stuck out to me. I played a couple other good ones that we sent out to Oddsbreakers members. Anything else on the national championship game before we move on?
No, it should be interesting. I'm more curious on what happens if Alabama beats them by double digits again, and they win. I mean, I'll be rooting for it just because I know Nick Saban builds a brand new house in Alabama for the needy and stuff like that. It's always a cool story. Watch that on 30 for 30. It's a really nice story. But do we totally look at Georgia, who was the number one team all season long, the best team in college football all season long? And if Bama beats them by double digits or blows them out, then what? This is going to totally change in how I looked at college football all season long.
Yeah, I think so too. It's going to change a lot of perceptions here. It's just weird. Bama played down to their competition a lot. When they, of course, played Texas A&M, when they played Florida earlier, we found out Florida wasn't that good. And then when they played LSU at home, and then that last game against Auburn, it's like, what's going on? But, that's kind of what I thought was going to happen with Cincinnati, but I was wrong. Ritter looked terrible and looked shooken. The moment was too big for him, and he couldn't complete normal passes. And, Bama's passing game didn't even come in. They didn't need a Mechie. Nope. They just ran for 300 yards all over them. That's not going to happen against Georgia. So I looked at some of the rushing props under for these, and it looks like the books agree with me because the books have the rushing props pretty low already. Yes. So I am not attacking those, and I'm going to wait to hope to see them go up some before I look at any running back under, because I am not betting any running back over the rushing yards in this game.
Keep an eye out for Stenson Bennett's over touchdown. It's 1.5. It's heavy juice, like minus 155, I think, and all that. But if it comes down a slight bit, maybe minus 150 and all that, I would take a stab at it. I think we both agree that both teams are going to try to establish the run. Hello, if Cook gets a screen pass and runs into the end zone, you know what that is? A passing touchdown. So I would keep an eye out on that one, over 1.5. It would not shock me if he gets 2 touchdown passes or more.
Oh, that's a good one right there. I like that one. And, if Alabama's just blowing him out and he's looking terrible early, they soften up the defense and that screen pass could happen. So definitely like that one. That's one I will look at as well. Thank you for bringing that one up. Let's move into college basketball then. It's already a pretty big weekend. You got your conference play here, the Big Ten's playing each other, SEC. And that's always exciting because, college basketball I always pivot to. And there's a pretty big game coming up this weekend with Michigan versus Michigan State. So what I have to say about this game is Michigan is not the same team that they've had. They're not at all, because they are 7-6. It blows my mind because they are coming into the preseason top 2 or 3. Something like
I think they were 3. Yeah.
Yeah. It was Gonzaga, Baylor, Michigan, I think. But it blows my mind how bad they are. And I've watched some of them and I figured it out. It's their guard plays terrible. They still have Hunter Dickinson down, which is a force, but he tires out a little bit. He's 7-1. And that Musa Diabate is too skinny. He's a freshman, 6'11". He is not. He can't bull anybody down there. He gets bulled around himself, being so tall in the post. So, in my opinion, their guard play is terrible, and their ball pressure is terrible around the perimeter. And I think because of that, teams are able to shoot over them, a lot better than they used to. Michigan this year ranks 48th in defensive efficiency. Last year, they're 4th. That's a very big step down right now, And, their offense is still pretty good because of Hunter Dickinson. But when they play bigger teams, they run some trouble. North Carolina played around with them a little bit. You saw UCF come back on Thursday night, and they played around with them a little bit. The taller teams are getting more baskets down low, and they're not guarding the perimeter like they used to. Now, Michigan State, much better team than they were last year. They were terrible last year. These kids got better. A.J. Hoggard's doing great. Gabe Brown's been fantastic. Tyson Walker is shooting 56% from 3. 56%, So not only is Michigan State tall, Marcus Bingham 7-footer, Gabe Brown 6'8", Julius Marble 6'9", they're also hitting their threes at a crazy rate, 39.3%, and that's ninth in the nation. Okay. Michigan State plays fast, but they're playing way better. It's like these kids, Izzo probably busted their ass last year after having such a bad year and getting bounced right away in the tournament. But if you remember, they did give UCLA some fits last year. This is going to be a short spread. Ken Pom predicts Michigan State losing this game. I like Michigan State to win. They're going to have some crowd there in Michigan. I'm going to be taking Michigan State. What are your thoughts?
I agree. And if you watch that game, I think on the road was last month against Minnesota. I think that's the type of game we're going to see when they beat. I think they only won by Michigan State won by 6 or 8. I don't have it in front of me, but I agree. I just think Michigan State, they're a deeper team. I think if they can control the boards early, I think it could be trouble. And I think looking for the offensive rebounds to be their key, because if they kick it back out and shoot the 3-ball on an offensive rebound, that shooter is going to be wide open. And you named it. They can shoot from 3-land and make it early. And if that's the case, this game could be an ugly, ugly blowout. Don't forget, Michigan beat Michigan State at Michigan by 19 points. I think their last year it was like 69-50, and Michigan State couldn't hit nothing. Even at the free throw line, I think they were shooting less than 70% that day against them. I like Michigan State. I'm not sold on Michigan at all. I think there's a lot better teams than the Wolverines this year in that big Indiana. You can list it off: Purdue, Ohio State, Wisconsin. There's so many teams that I thought Michigan would be above this year, but they're not. I think they're in the middle of the pack, I think, in this conference, and all said and done. I like Sparty here, even though I always kind of root for Michigan more than Michigan State growing up in the Midwest, but I'm green and white on this one. I think Sparty, again, if this is three points or less, I'm with you. I just don't see Michigan winning this game at all.
Yeah, and Michigan, screwed so many people in their bracket last year. You got to root against them.
Yeah. I forgot about that. Thanks for reminding me. I think that had them in my Final Four. Thanks a lot, Wolverine.
Their heads got too big. We're switching back to Sparty, buddy.
Yeah, I could care less that the home team is 6-0 against the spread. I could care less. Well, go green, go white.
Go green this weekend. Any games that you like?
I'll get back in the NFL. There's some interesting. I know everyone wants to talk about. I'm hoping and praying that the Chargers Raiders take knees and it's a tie, so I can watch a movie on Saturday or Sunday night instead of that game. But I don't think we're going to see that. I love this Saints Falcons game. Do you really think the Falcons are going to want to just lay dead and let the Saints go to the playoffs at their back in their home court, where they have to still hear about how they blew the Super Bowl against Tom Brady? The Saints bring that up every time they tweet it to the Atlanta Falcons every time they can when something happens to that score. I think the Falcons come out. This is their playoff. This is their Super Bowl. This is their national championship game. I think, and we all can agree, the Saints' offense is horrendously bad. So I like the Falcons. I think they're going to treat this game as their game of all games this year. This is probably one of the games that they're probably had the best practices, probably the best meetings and all that. I'm sorry, Saints, your offense is pathetic. I like the Falcons at home against that. And I'm hoping that Joe Public continues to bet this one so I can get maybe +5 or higher.
Well, it's there's people who agree with you because it's moving down in some of the books.
Damn.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I was waiting on it too. Trust me, because I expected more money coming out of Saints, but some sharper players hit the Falcons. My number was pretty close to where the 3.5 is, to be honest with you. But I mean, yeah, the whole factor is that this is their spoiler. The Falcons get revenge. This is definitely a great way to end your season. It's not like Arthur Smith's on the hot seat or anything. This is kind of like a honeymoon year for him, So I think the Falcons, it's the Falcons or nothing for me. Now, obviously, people think I thought about teasing them, and it's not like one of the perfect teasers through the 2 and the 7, which I have arguments about back and forth with some of my other colleagues, but. Right now, there's Falcons money coming in, but I expect Saints money to come in. So I agree with the Falcons side anyway. And what you said to me before, if you're thinking about betting the Washington Giants game, just burn your money. You use it for a little warmth. It's been cold outside, so at least you get something from that money. Better chance of being warm than beating the juice on that one. I mean, That's a disgusting game. The Bears Vikings is pretty disgusting too. I don't know who's motivated. There's a chance that the Vikings don't play to win too. I mean, what's it going to get them to beat the Bears 2 times here? They might put a couple second stringers in as well. That's a nasty spread, 5.5. That tells you the books don't know. That tells you the market doesn't know.
I'm just glad that Nagy's gonna. I want them to kick the ball off, and he's still on the sidelines because we're counting that as he coached Sunday's game. And if he gets fired after the game, that's a Black Monday casualty. So I just need him to stay there until the first kick goes off, and then he coached the whole season.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. Well, I mean, I'll tell you, these lines moved a lot. Cleveland one bounced everywhere. I got a little value in that. Arizona is interesting because Arizona is going to be motivated the first half, but if the Rams are beating the crap out of San Francisco, then I would see Arizona definitely putting it on Seattle win the division. I mean that could happen too. I've seen that happen too. At the very end, the half times changed some teams.
Oh yeah.
One team that I do like is San Fran. So we'll stay on that game. I think that San Fran plays the Rams very well. They won 5 of the last 6 games. The last game was a blowout. And metrically, I have this maybe a 3.5 to 4 point spread if you give the Rams a home field advantage. But there's going to be Niner fans everywhere in this stadium. Niners are probably the biggest thing in California, I think. And I mean, the Raiders still might be big, but if you remember, there was a lot of Raiders fans in that Charger game. But what I think is that the Niners are going to beat them, and I think they're saving Jimmy Garoppolo for that. And I just do not like Matt Stafford in big games. You're getting past the 3 on this one. It's what kind of dog do you want? Do you want a dog fighting for a bone like the Rams, or you want a dog fighting for his life like the 49ers? I'm going to take the Niners, buddy.
Yeah, I do. I like the Niners on this one as well. You said some teams you just don't have bad matchups. And I think the Rams just have a bad matchup against the 49ers. I totally agree. I thought the number was going to be 3, not 3.5. So when I saw 4.5, I knew I was going to be on the 49ers side. And then Jimmy G is not only playing for a playoff spot, but he's also playing for a contract. He probably knows he's not going to be in San Fran next year. So what way to go out and beat the Rams, go to the playoffs, and have a good game. So I agree. I think 49ers are on the side. And I also want to go into the Death Star. I would not be, even though I do want to put none of my hard-earned dollars on the Chargers, but I think they win this game. I mean, the Raiders do not play well at home at the Death Star. It's been well received, even when my Bears went to the backyard at the Death Star and got a W off the Raiders. Even though I know the Raiders have been playing some good football, but I would not be shocked at the late game on Sunday night. We see the Bolts win on the road at the Death Star.
That is a crazy game, but I'll tell you this: I'm going to disagree. And I
Boo!
Believe it or not, it happens. I think the Raiders are getting Waller back, and this offense is completely different with Waller. Now I know that the Raiders the Raiders got owned, I think, by the Chargers, but that Chargers defense is so bad. You saw the Texans manhandle them. You saw the Cleveland Browns manhandle them. There's just a lot of bad offensive teams that really manhandled the Chargers this year. And that first half against Kansas City, was that more about the Chargers defense stopping them, or just Kansas City not playing a first half like we've seen a million times against Texans in the playoffs and then Matt Mahomes just comes back and wins the game? They couldn't stop them. There's no stopping Kelsey. I mean, it was almost like a guarantee that they were going to win that game. It was like anybody with a Chargers ticket. I had an over ticket, so I was actually excited that game. But anybody with a Chargers ticket knew they were dead in the water, just the way the Chargers are. But you're getting 3 points at the Raiders. I hate betting on Derek Carr, man. I'm not gonna lie. The Raiders might be that one team that kills me all the time, but I used them in a teaser when it was 2.5, and I pulled them up to 8.5. And I put them with the Cowboys before the COVID issues. I still think the Cowboys win that game. So obviously you're getting a bonus play from me for that teaser. I still like the teaser. But at the flat 3, -110, at the normal juice, I'll take the Raiders. So we'll disagree.
Disagree to a disagree.
disagree. Anything else you like, buddy?
No, I mean, like I said, it's a jam-packed weekend. So, like I said, college hoops. You throw in NBA, NHL, soccer in the mix as well, and don't forget the FCS, people. The FCS: Montana State, North Dakota State. I know North Dakota State probably has the worst colors of football, but come on, we're up there for another national championship. I think the total is deflated. All right, I like the under when it was opened up at 45. It's 41.5. I do believe. I think it's going to be a very, very defensive battle game. But give the love to the FCS, Montana State, North Dakota State. Don't forget that game on Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, make sure you check that out. And I mean, if you're bored, why not? I'm not going to be betting that game. I might be watching it though, because obviously I know nothing about those teams. I know a little bit about those teams. I know which ones are good, which ones are bad. But maybe ask your wife, have her look at those uniforms, and she'll be like, "Oh, I'm betting on the other team," and there's your play right there, right?
Wow, you get your wife to watch games with you? Wow, I need to call you.
No, just the color of the team.
Oh, okay. I was gonna ask for pointers on that too.
If I sound a little different, I got these new aligners in my teeth, so I'm trying to straighten them up a little bit. So just before I get any questions from anybody, we'll see if they work. They sure hurt like hell, so that means they're working, I think.
So no corn on the cob for you for dinner today tonight. Nope. Is that what you're saying?
I can take them. I'm allowed to take them off for 2 hours every 24, so you're allowed to eat a little bit.
Oh, okay.
So we'll see how that goes. But it's probably going to be like this for a while. But just wanted to tell my audience that. But man, Raph, thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate your insights. I cannot wait to get in the Super Bowl and all the fun props and everything that you supply to us through MyBookie.com. It's so fun. And your picks are fantastic over at Doc Sports. Where could our listeners get your information?
You can find me over at DocSports.com. Like I said, I'm one of the handicappers over there. You can find all my odds, crazy stuff over at MyBookie.ag. You can follow me on Twitter at VSI.Sports. And also you can find me on Instagram at Raphael Exparza.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on, Raphael. And Kyle out sick today. He was going to
come on. Hope you feel better, Kyle.
Yep. Hopefully you feel better, Kyle. And Raphael, I know I got you on late notice, so I really appreciate you stepping up. I knew you would, and you're that kind of guy.
Anytime you need me.
All right, everyone. Hope you enjoyed the show. If you have any questions, tweet us at the Odds Shakers. Tweet Ralph at VSI.Sports. Have a great weekend.